We are starting a new sculpture today, and I'm using the same boards. If you're curious how I use my boards, it's just a piece of wood with two pieces of wood on the side. That way you can grab it. Because a lot of water clay is heavy, so it tends to make it much easier to do this. And then on top, I have a plastic bag and I just taped it. The reason that is because that way water will not seep into the wood and warp it and change it. And we're gonna get started. Today we're gonna do a reclining pose. It's gonna be kind of like a quick pose because I need, after the holidays and Christmas, I haven't been doing a lot of sculpture. The last thing I sculpted is this, and this thing has been giving me a hard time. It's just like a little rabbit, but I kind of like it, and I'll probably make a mold of this. For this sculpture, we're going to use red low fire clay. This clay fires at a lower temperature than a lot of other clays, and it's perfect for sculpture. I take a couple of slabs and I make a platform, and now I draw in where the figure is touching the platform. I make a midway point and I start building it. And I built this with old clay, but generally I like to use new clay and cut large pieces. I always use very large tools in the beginning. Some of my favorite tools are paint scrapers from a hardware store. But you can see now it's starting to materialize. You're already starting to get a figure. I'm doing a reclining female figure in a classical type of style. One of the things I do is keep everything undersized. It's a lot easier as a sculptor to keep undersized than oversized and then having to remove. The navel, that's how I'm going to take some measurements. I've already found out the midway of the sculpture, and now by taking additional measurements, including the head and counting down to the toes, it's a little bit more difficult because a figure that's standing up is a lot easier to take measurements. The figure is a lot more complex when it's bending and it's reclining. You can see some of my favorite tools are very cheap. They're silicone tools. I'll put a link in the description below in case you want to buy them. They're very cheap, and you can get 10 silicone tools for about $15. I like the texture that they provide you because you want to combine a little bit of a variety in your texture. And it's not about the texture, but it's what I would call the variety of line. In drawing, you want to have a variety of line because it gives a more live look to your sculpture. If you have it smooth throughout your sculpture, it looks kind of dead. But you see up here, the closeness, you see me using the wooden tools and the silicone tools and the bristle brushes and my cloth to create a variety of line. So working with water clay, it's got many advantages over oil-based clay. It's got some crazy benefits like the accessibility and cost effectiveness. Water-based clay is generally more affordable than oil-based clay, and it makes a preferred choice, especially for artists who are just starting or working on larger projects where the cost can be a significant factor. Flexible, and it's got a lot of plasticity. It can let you work on a sculpture for an extended period of time, provided you keep it nice and wet. And the big benefit is water-based clay terracotta is painterly. Water clay can be worked in a painterly manner, especially when it's very wet. And this allows artists to create smooth surfaces, blend colors, and experiment with different textures in a way that it's challenging to achieve with oil-based clay. So it's the ability to manipulate clay in a more fluid and expressive manner. Contributes to a very unique artistic style that's not robotic like oil-based clay. Water clay can also let you carve and sand. When the clay hardens, it allows artists to carve and sand the finished piece. And this carving capability provides a very different set of possibilities in terms of creating different detailed textures. It can create intricate patterns and refined surfaces. And water clay, in particular terracotta, it's got a rich historical tradition, and it's been used by ancient civilizations for centuries. Sculptors working with water clay may appreciate as I do, the connection to this heritage and the opportunity to contribute to the long withstanding artistic practice. And if you're an environmentalist, water-based clay is generally more environmentally friendly as it does not contain any oil-based materials and it can be recycled and reused more easily. I like natural materials. That's why the water-based clay is so attractive. It's like working with wood or working with marble. You're working with directly with something that's completely natural. I think one of the things that people do, especially with oil-based clay, including myself, is that it's so stiff it becomes robotic. But with water-based clay, it's not about that. You can really get away with many techniques, and I just love the look of wet clay. The closest thing you're going to get with this sort of thing is just adding wax. If I paint a sculpture after it's been fired, it's because there's a crack somewhere that I want to hide or I want to fix it by gluing something, which has not happened very lately. And you do have to hollow out your sculpture. And with water-based clay, that's something that you have to do. It's very easy. People have commented saying that it's very difficult to tear apart your sculpture, but I don't find it that way because I do it midway. Midway into the sculpture, that's when I dig out and hollow the inside out. If you look at the marks that I'm making, a lot of times it could possibly not make a lot of sense, but when you take a step back, it'll make sense. Your eyes will fill the entire picture. Imagine any painting that you that you've seen in magazines, that you have seen from afar. It looks great, but when you come close, you'll see the geometric shapes, you'll see the details. When you take a step back, it all seems to make sense. And that's what I strive for with the sculptures. It's not about the textures that I leave in, but most of the time, when you take a step back, everything should make sense. Your eyes kind of fill in the rest. It's like reading a novel. When you read a novel that doesn't have any pictures, your mind builds that picture. And it's much more fulfilling than having everything done for you. One of the things that I don't particularly like about art is the photorealism movement. I thought that movement was not very appealing at all. Even when you think about artists from the Renaissance, you think of them as realistic, but in reality, they're very different from realistic. Even Michelangelo was not a realist. They idealized the human form, they exaggerated anatomy, and they emphasized and expressed and had a lot of symbolism in their art. And also was a spiritual and symbolic interpretation. So a lot of artists, a lot of people think that somehow these artists that are creating lifelike images are realistic, but they're anything from it. The more realistic artists that I've seen were in the 1960s. And that movement was mostly spurred on by photography. As an artist, it's very crucial to do your own vision and follow your creative instincts over concerns what others might think of your artwork. When you read the comments on some of my videos, you'll realize some people get very upset about the subjects that I create. But when you create based on your own authentic vision, you tap into a realm of personal expression that is untethered by external expectations. And it's authentic. It allows you to convey your unique perspective, your emotion, your experiences, and it fosters a deeper connection between you and your art. Don't do what others are telling you. You should always follow your own vision. The freedom to explore and experiment becomes a natural consequence of letting go of external judgments. Without the weight of others' opinions, you can push boundaries, try new styles, and experiment with various techniques. And this creativity allows not only to the artistic growth, but also opens door for very new approaches that might otherwise be stifled by the fear of an external critique. You encourage creative risk taking. Breakthrough is in art often arises from challenging conventions and daring to explore uncharted territories. When you create without the constant worry of how your work will be received, it allows space for these artistic breakthroughs to unfold. So, artists, stay true to your artistic voice is a byproduct of focusing on your own vision, and it helps you develop a consistent and recognizable style that reflects your own individuality. As an artist, it's indeed important to appreciate and evaluate the technical skills of fellow artists, rather than passing judgment based on subjective matters, such as their chosen subject. Individual style art and choice of subject are deeply personal aspects of an artist's identity, and they contribute to the diversity and richness of the artistic landscape. So, focusing on technical skill allows for more of an objective assessment of an artist's craftsmanship, dedication to their craft, and mastery of various techniques. Technical proficiency often transcends personal preferences, providing a more universal basis for recognizing and respecting an artist's talent. The disparity in reactions to erotic art can be perplexing, especially when considering historical examples from renowned artists like Egon Schiele and Gustav Klimt. The dichotomy between living artists facing criticism for depicting nudity and the acceptance of similar themes in works of deceased artists raises questions about social attitudes and perceptions. I've always found it fascinating that there's a lot of criticism directed at contemporary artists while celebrating historical, erotic art. It's a bias that's ingrained in our social norms. There may be a tendency to romanticize and accept eroticism in art when the artist is no longer alive, possibly due to a sense of historical distance and a different cultural context. It's essential for artists to navigate these complexities with resilience and a commitment to their creative vision. The divergence in reactions underscores the subjective and evolving nature of societal attitudes towards art. By staying true to their artistic expression and technical proficiency, artists contribute to the ongoing dialogue surrounding the role of subject matter in the realm of art. Embracing diversity in artistic expression and respecting individual choices can foster a more inclusive and understanding artistic community. This was a practical way of putting the drapery around the sculpture. I used the stool to observe and understand how the fabric interacted with the form of the stool. And the drapery studies are a common practice among artists to capture folds, flows, and the nuance of fabric in three-dimensional forms. So if you have any specific questions or if there's anything else you'd like to discuss about this, feel free to let me know. By being true to your own vision, you're going to attract an audience that appreciates your authenticity. When your work is genuinely a reflection of who you are as an artist, it can resonate more deeply with those who connect with your unique perspective, and it fosters a genuine and meaningful connection with your audience. This is the final sculpture. It took a while. It's been the holidays, the Christmas holidays, so that's usually a little bit more difficult to work on the sculpture without interruption. But this sculpture, I started out with the nude sculpture and then I draped it. You know, now I'm like looking at it, I'm thinking, did I make that the right decision? Normally, I don't care too much about showing all sorts of nudity. It doesn't bother me. And I wanted to do a little drapery study. That's why I did this. In the future, I'm probably going to be doing a couple drapery studies. I really love how drapery looks, and I do need to practice that. That's a really good sculpting from life type of exercise. If you put up some sort of cloth and then sculpt that, it looks great. And I've done a lot of drawings of drapery. It's very important in art. If you look at sculpture from the past, there's always some element of drapery. So it's very important to learn it. What I'm going to be doing with this is letting it dry Technically, I've already hollowed out the inside. I didn't show it on video, but if you look at my old videos where I hollow out the sculptures, that's pretty apparent how I do it. If you look at the main chunk here, I hollowed it out. I connected it through here, all the way to the head and all the way to the base. So that's going to give me a venting when I fire it. But when this becomes leather hard, I will turn it upside down and just take some of my scraping tools and dig out a little bit more, because this is quite heavy. And you use quite a bit of clay for this. The water clay is cheap, abundant, you can find it everywhere. But it is quite a bit of clay that you use for it, because I don't have an armature inside. It's like just solid, and now it's hollow inside. So this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next sculpture. Stay tuned.